And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to UNC athletics. And it is the bye week. It is going to be a very slow week for me. There's going to be no football press conferences, no basketball press conferences. I mean, this might be the slowest week I've had probably since before fall camp started. Just because I have nowhere to go. I will basically camp out here in my apartment. Well, not camp out here, of course. Not like I want to get out and walk. I like to jog. I like to work out and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna stay in all the time. I'll drive myself crazy doing that, right? But but my point is, it's gonna be a very slow week for me. And one of the things about a bye week is it's an opportunity for teams to get better. It's an opportunity for coaches to really reflect on what happened over the last few weeks. So this is a good opportunity for UNC. And look, and things are bleak right now, right? I even think that North Carolina at this moment might not even get to 6 wins, right? If you don't get to 6 wins, of course, you guys all know you're not bowl eligible. So that's where I think the state of North Carolina football is. It's just not a good product. They're not a good team. No matter how good this coaching staff is and the resume, their players aren't good. And you have, a head coach in Bill Belichick, and yes, he is a good defensive play caller. Yes, he is one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. Yes, he is one of the greatest head coaches in NFL history, if not the greatest. But the thing is that outside of Tom Brady, if you look at all of his offenses, including the one you're seeing now, they haven't been very good. And he's also has this weird obsession to trying to find diamonds in the rough to contribute to UNC. And if you look at that, it really hasn't worked out. If you really think about the best players on North Carolina's offense, Damon June, Jordan Shipp, and Chris Gulliver, and Austin Blasky. You could probably say 4 because I want to include Austin Blasky because he's the best offensive lineman UNC has. Guess what all 4 of those players have in common? They're all recruited by Mack Brown. They're all recruited and brought here by Mack Brown. 3 of those players I mentioned were here on the roster last year. Damon June, while he is a freshman and he wasn't on the roster last year because he was still in high school, Mack Brown recruited him. It wasn't Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick and his staff convinced Damon June to stay committed to UNC. So, you got that side, and then also on the defensive side of the ball. You have your 3 best players are transfers, and they were brought in by Belichick, but Thaddeus Dixon was a legit all Big Ten cornerback. Komori House is a very good player, but that had more to do with Steve bringing him on because Steve obviously knows he's a really good player, and we're seeing that now. And Andrew Simpson, who was a starter on Boise State's team that went to the college football playoff last year. He's a really good player. 4 or 5 year guy, very experienced, knows what it's like to play in big games, and was a starter for a great mid-major program. Not even just really good, a great mid-major program that is a proud program. That Boise State has been to 4 BCS bowl games, 4 BCS / New Year's Six bowl game. Well, New Year's Six / college football games. That's a very good program. They got more success than North Carolina has had in the last 20 years. And they've beaten people that North Carolina could only dream about beating. The player evaluation hasn't really been that great. You're seeing the struggles of the offensive line. They brought in a new offensive line. So it's just not a very good product right now. So the only thing you can do is get better. How can you get better? That's the question. I mean, there's a lot of people, they get better? We know the defense is getting better because I think the defense has a little bit more talent than the offense does. And then on top of that, that's really the coaching staff specialty. Considering and Bill and Steven, the job they're great defensive play calls. Like Steve is actually done a pretty good job defensive play. I'm not gonna lie, like they only gave up even though 366 yards is not really the greatest. I mean, that would put you in the 80s in terms of total yards allowed. But then again, yards in college football have gone down. So I would say that if you look at the stat lines, like the yardage in terms of total yardage allowed has gone down. So, I mean, yeah, maybe another year that'll probably be like 50th or 60th, but right now it's in the 80s. But still, like that game could have been much worse. That game could have been much, much worse. And the defense held strong as long as they could. But, I mean, the offense was So, they were tired at the end. And on top of that, I mean, yeah, the opening drive and the final drive of the first half were really bad, right? You allowed two easy touchdown drives. But most of that, I mean, I thought North Carolina's defense played really good. It's just hard to overcome having on your team a really bad offense. So, but there are several things that they can do, right? Number one, if Gio Lopez is healthy, let's just say he's still somewhat healthy. I'm not sure what his status is at the moment. It hasn't been announced yet, which I hope it gets announced pretty soon because, I mean, it makes our jobs easier. But let's say he's healthy. Just for the sake of argument, he's healthy. Have him and Max Johnson have a quarterback battle. You have 2 weeks until you play Clemson. You got this week, and of course next week is game week, but that's still, 13 days? 13, 14 days before you play Clemson? So you have plenty of opportunity to evaluate the quarterback position. Because right now, Gio Lopez is averaging 107.5 yards through the air per game. He has been great. And then when you factor in Max Johnson, who has a ton of experience playing in the SEC. He played at LSU and he played at Texas A&M. He's got plenty of experience. 49 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 6,000 career yards through the air. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. Might as well shoot. Why not? Whenever he's in the game, you guys seem to be more. They seem to be more aggressive play calling. Might as well. Screw it. Do it. And he's more willing to throw the ball down the field. He's familiar with some of the guys on the team because he was on the team last year. He also is very familiar with the pro-style offense, something that Freddie Kitchens is trying to run, and they're trying to run it with a guy who really would benefit being more in a spread option offense than a pro-style offense. I'm talking about Gio Lopez. It makes zero sense to not have Max Johnson starting quarterback if you want to run a pro-style system. But because Bill Belichick paid $2 million over a 2-year span to Gio Lopez to be the starting quarterback, when you already have a guy who is a pro-style quarterback on your team right now, a guy who's had a lot of starting experience. Now, Max Johnson almost lost his leg, so I think they're factoring that in too. But, you're paying $2 million for a quarterback who's right now statistically one of the worst in the country. He's averaging 107.5 yards per game through the air. He's had 3 touchdowns along with 3 interceptions. He has not played good football. I don't care. At this point in time, the $2 million shouldn't matter. It should be winning games. And Gio Lopez, from the looks of things, isn't winning games outside of Charlotte, who, by the way, you only beat 20-3, and they're a terrible football team. Mama scored over 40 points against them the next week. And then you beat Richmond. That's Richmond. They're an FCS program. You're supposed to be in 41-6. Congratulations. And then in the press conference after the game, he said, well, we scored a bunch of points. No, you didn't. Your most of your touchdowns were set up by turnovers. You had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and you also had another interception that put you in really good field position to score. The offense didn't score a lot of points. They got gimmies. They haven't driven down the field. They haven't driven down the field and scored 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's just not a good offense. You're one of the worst offenses in the country. You're 132nd in total offense. You're averaging 263 yards per game. That's 132nd in the country. There's 134 teams that play at the FBS level. By the way, you're also the worst Power 4 program in terms of total offense per game. Might as well make the switch. Might as well, maybe not make the switch, but have a quarterback battle. See what you got. Because Matt Johnson clearly seems to handle the offense much better. I know it was late in the game, but you see that he's in control of the offense. Because he's a veteran, of course. But I'm not saying Gio Lopez is a bad quarterback, but right now he statistically is one of the worst, in terms of the numbers, is one of the worst quarterbacks in the country. And also just from the looks of things, he doesn't seem comfortable out there. He doesn't. He just doesn't. And it's not worth paying somebody. I mean, right now, like his salary for this year is about $900,000. And if you do the math, by the way, if you do the math, 900,000 divided by 12, because he plays 12 games. So let's say he gets paid by the game. Let's just hypothetically say that. He makes $75,000 a year. I just want to put this in perspective. Some sports journalists don't even make that in a year. Gio Lopez makes as much as some journalists do in a day. I just want to put that in perspective. Like, he has not played good at all. Another thing they could do is block. I know that sounds really simple, but they need to figure out a way to get the block. I mean, they have not been a very good run blocking team all year. I mean, their average run block grade in terms of offensive line is in the 50s. Yes, you can say, well, Damon June broke off those long runs, and he's been a very good ball carrier. Yes, that's because of Damon June. Damon June is a very explosive. He's the most explosive back you have. He's one of those backs where if a play blows up, he could turn, chicken crap into chicken salad. Like, that's the type of running back he is. It may look like it'll be a 2-yard loss, and all of a sudden, boom, he cuts off the field in 7-yard game. Like, that's the type of back he is, and he's probably arguably might be the most important offensive player right now for North Carolina. Even more so than Jordan Shipp. Because you have to run the ball. And they've been doing better at it. In my opinion, they've been running the ball a little bit better. Although the last game they didn't really run the ball that well. But that's more, I think also this because UCF's defensive line is probably the best. It's the best defensive line they've played since TCU. And Damon June was able to get 5 yards per carry. Like, I think he actually might be the only running back to average 5 yards per carry. So, I mean, it is more so like Damon June's rushing success has more to do with him being a very special back at 18 years old than it does being North Carolina's offensive line. North Carolina cannot run block. They can barely protect the passer. And I say this too, even if you switch to Mac Johnson, let's say you should switch to Mac Johnson, that still won't solve all the offensive line's problems. It still won't. It still won't solve the offensive problems because you got offensive line that isn't very good. You have a bunch of skill players outside of Damon June that really haven't shown that they can be that guy. Jordan Shipp has shown flashes, but let's be honest, guys. Jordan Shipp on a lot of the top teams around the country would be the number 2, number 3 receiver. And I don't mean that in disrespect to Jordan Shipp. I think Jordan Shipp is a good player. But I don't think he should be your number one. If he's your number one, then who the hell is in the receiving corps? I mean, guys, Chris Culliver has shown flash, and so has Javarius Green. But if you want to have an effective passing game, you have to have explosive playmakers. And that's something that North Carolina doesn't have, maybe outside of Chris Culliver. But even Chris Culliver, we haven't seen much of that because the passing game stinks. I mean, that you can't control. You can at least get better at the offensive line. But if you don't have the explosive skill players needed to win, it's not going to look good, man. It's just not. It's not going to be a good offense. And by the way, Damon June, he's averaging 7.6 yards per carry. There's only two players that are averaging 3 yards or more per carry after Damon June. That is Caleb Hood, who's averaging 3.1 yards per game, and Charleston French, who had one rush for 3 yards. So I guess that doesn't even count. I mean, you don't have the skill players. You don't have the skill players. Your offensive line isn't very good. At least the offensive line you can improve on. If you don't have a good amount of skill players, oh well. And defensively, and I said they've improved. But something that the defense has to do is they have to be more disciplined. Maybe that's something they can work on because I think they're constantly improving and they're getting better at what they're doing. I mean, there's not really much to comment about the defense, but if there's anything, I say just, be disciplined. That final touchdown drive shouldn't have happened. UCF scored a touchdown in the final minute with 0 timeouts, and they were helped out by 2 costly penalties. One was a defensive holding by Thaddeus Dixon, which is rare that he makes those type of mistakes. He's been arguably UNC's best defensive player all year. And then you had Melkart Abujade, who had this great game against Richmond last week. He made a boneheaded play by roughing the passer. And that extended, and it gave UCF an automatic first down and put them on their side of the on UNC side of the field. So they had a shorter field to work with a little bit. Now, whole time, how much time left? And they scored with 13 seconds left. So for the defense, you have to stay disciplined. But also, the defense is also put in a bad spot too, because the drive before that, when North Carolina kicked the field goal to score 3 points, their first points of the game, Damon June, instead of staying in bounds and kind of wasting a little bit of the clock, he ran out of bounds, which helped UCF even further to score that touchdown late. So it hasn't really been I think the defense has constantly improved since their time at TCU, but we will see how much improvement they do against Clemson. But we'll see. But I do really like where this defense is going. Like I said, this is a defensive-minded staff, so it makes sense why the defense is improving. And it seems like their evaluations are better on the defense side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball, they're still putting in 6 or 7 different offensive linemen in the game at one time. And then on top of that, like, you had what's his name coming? Shamar Clower, who hadn't played all year, but then he led the team in receiving yards with receptions for 4 catches. Like it just seems like they have no idea what the hell they're doing on offense. But that's also because they whiffed on a lot of their evaluations on the offensive side of the ball. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I am your host, Grant Chachere. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tar Heels on SI. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well at Chachere Grant. My last name and first name. Last name first name second. And then also make sure to go follow us on Facebook at Tar Heels, at North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. It should be one of the first things that pops up on your Facebook page. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.